Welcome to 6 Million Seeds. I'm Meryl Fury.
And I'm Carrie Bruno. We are healthcare professionals and co-creators of this podcast.
This episode is brought to you by the power of love and compassion.
I want to honor and respect all my former coworkers. They're wonderful and caring people who really want the best for their patients, sincerely. And we all do the best we can with what we truly know. There was certainly a time that I myself wasn't yet on board in understanding the amazing power of a healthy plant-based diet. But through my additional training and personal experience, I did come to truly know that much of what we're seeing in the hospital, things like diabetes and its complications, high blood pressure, kidney disease, obesity, and repeated cardiovascular events, as we spoke of earlier, these things could be prevented, treated, and sometimes even reversed through lifestyle medicine, including a predominantly or completely whole food plant-based diet.
Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Donna Meyer. She is a registered nurse, a wife, and a mom of 3. After 27 years of working in more of a traditional nursing setting, she transitioned into her own practice as a nurse coach. Donna has transformed her own life and health through the use of lifestyle medicine and finds great joy in helping her clients on their own path towards optimal wellness. She even started a website called Green Circle Kitchen that contains recipes and lifestyle medicine resources. So let's jump right in.
Well, hey, everybody, this is Meryl.
And this is Carrie.
And here we are, 6 Million Seeds podcast. And today we are talking with a friend of mine named Donna Meyer. We're going to have her introduce herself because she's got a lot going on.
Thank you so much, Meryl. I'm really happy to be here and so great to meet you, Carrie. I'm so happy to be on this podcast. I have such respect for what you guys are doing with 6 Million Seeds and plant-based nutrition movement. It's just fabulous.
Yeah. So congratulations on your retirement and starting your next
all in one. I don't know if I call it retirement. I'm not ready for that.
Well, you're still very busy. It's okay.
Okay.
So cool.
Yeah. So what was life like before you came to this plant-based way of life?
Well, like many people, I'm no stranger to roller coaster dieting. And I really mean roller coaster dieting. My weight had been a big issue for me for most of my adult life. And I was no stranger to morbid obesity either. At my top weight, I was nearly 300 pounds, and on my 5'6" frame, that was quite heavy and quite morbidly obese. And at times along the roller coaster ride, I would just give up and eat whatever I wanted, essentially the standard American diet, and definitely way too much of it. At other times, I experimented with just about every type of diet that you could imagine. I think I've done probably all of them. After losing a great deal of weight about 20 years ago now, I did that using a somewhat restrictive and highly mathematical diet. So it involved like balancing carbohydrates and proteins and fats in each meal and snack. I did well, lost quite a bit of weight on that diet, but then gained quite a bit back in time. It wasn't a, lifelong thing. I then kind of dabbled back into that same diet at times, but I began to see I was having less and less success with it. It just wasn't working. Well, with all this roller coaster dieting, I eventually tried an elimination type diet. And found that dairy was not my friend. I figured out that I had a lactose intolerance. And so the first to go in terms of animal products was dairy for me. And being from Wisconsin, as you know, of course, yes. I missed our amazing cheeses. But the payoff of having better digestion and feeling so much better was 100% worth it. So after figuring the dairy thing out, I did that. I think I even dabbled a little bit in vegetarian or vegan mostly at the time, but it didn't really stick quite yet then. After that, I did more roller coaster dieting and even started sort of sneaking in some cheese here and there. thinking, oh, maybe I can have a little, maybe just a little bit doesn't bother me, kind of testing it, But again, my weight had risen quite high again, back into the morbidly obese range, not as high as it was 20 years ago, but getting there again. And I was again just feeling lousy. And then, so a little over 5 years ago, this was August 2017, I was on a camping trip with some girlfriends. And as we were snacking on some of the like least healthy foods and treats you could imagine, I mean, picture things like nutty bars and cheese and sausage and oily chips and desserts and just you name it, you know, camping fun girls weekend kind of thing.
Mhm.
One of my girlfriends, she and I remember us kind of sitting there in the, I think out in camp chairs or something, just feeling gross. I think both of us just feeling gross, you know, and feeling lousy. She announced to me, you know what, Donna, we're going to do that forks over knives diet. And she said, starting on Monday.
All right.
Of course, 'cause we couldn't start, you know, during the camping trip because there's all
Because you
this
didn't have
free
any of
food.
that food with you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't want to miss out, I think, at the time either, we
Yeah.
thought. So for some reason it clicked with me and I said, yep, I'm going to do it. I'm in. I had seen Forks Over Knives once or twice before, but it hadn't completely clicked for me yet then. So I watched it again. And then that month, that August, I had only 2 non-plant-based meals that month. Kind of thinking I'll ease my way in. I don't have to be perfect, but I ended up only having 2 and it was easy. And once I realized how easy it was and how free I felt eating that way, there was simply no turning back.
Yeah. So you mentioned it felt like it was freeing. Can you describe that a little more?
Yeah. So with eating plant-based and mostly whole food plant-based, I was finally able to see my weight begin to slide down without having to put a great deal of thought into what I was eating like I had before. I was rarely, if ever, hungry. My energy began to climb. I was finally free from all that calorie counting and all that macronutrient mathematics. I also, in that prior diet, I did start cooking with more vegetables and things than the standard American diet typically includes. And I had learned that I loved cooking with color, and with whole food plant-based, the amount of color I could cook with is just, you know, never ending.
Right.
And I absolutely loved that huge variety of colorful plant foods. So that was really inspiring. And it still is for me. The colorful plant foods is like super inspiring. Going into a produce section or something, I'm just like gaga, you know, just love it. So then after seeing and feeling these amazing effects for myself, so this was like late 2017, early 2018, I began digging more deeply into what a whole food plant-based diet was all about. I'm like, what in the heck is this? This is way too easy. I feel too great. There's something more to this, you know, so I start Googling. I read the book How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, in case anyone needs to see that. I have that here.
Thank you.
Many people are probably familiar with that. Amazing book, super inspiring. And it looks big, it's thick, but it's like chapter by chapter and so easy to read.
If I remember correctly, most of like a lot of the end of it is references. So
oh yeah, it may be. Yeah.
It's not as thick as you would think.
Right. That's an added thing. And it's just easy to read. It's like you can hear him speaking. So it's pretty neat. And then I also became a member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, stumbled on that online. And I was like, what is this? Whoa, you know, super exciting. And then I also began like digging into as many articles and documentaries, webinars as I could possibly get my hands on. And so this is what also led me to getting more and more certifications, like I listed earlier. I just couldn't get enough of this amazing, life-changing information for my own benefit and for the benefit of my patients.
Yeah.
So speaking about your patients, you and I have that nursing thing in common. We're all healthcare professionals, and we already mentioned, you know, how challenging that field can be. What was it like being in a hospital setting, knowing what you know, and sort of being, well, you know, given orders to do certain things that maybe you didn't quite agree with, or that had a different relationship when they look at food and health and medication and lifestyle? How was that for you?
Well, it's, you know, being in the hospital, people are sicker and sicker in the hospital, and it's really, really tough seeing so many people becoming sicker and sicker, and even at younger and younger ages. And especially while knowing what we know, how much lifestyle can play a humongous part in preventing and sometimes even reversing chronic disease. Our traditional medical system does have amazing technology and medications that can be super helpful and are needed at times, you know. But I was thankful to have been in a position in my role in the hospital where education about lifestyle and risk reduction and actually addressing the cause of these illnesses was my primary role. So that I think that helped. I was able to plant seeds of lifestyle medicine information and begin to get my patients and their families excited about the impact that it could have on their lives. For many patients, though, this wasn't quite enough. You know, many people need more support moving forward with this information than we were able to provide in the hospital, unfortunately.
Okay, so we are all three healthcare professionals and we all know what it is to work in the healthcare environment. Carrie's a pharmacist, you and I are nurses. I know what my experience was working in public health. In the hospital setting, or anywhere else for that matter, did you ever run into challenges or conflicts because of your understanding and your commitment to what you know, and maybe what else was going on in the environment that you were working in?
Yeah, conflicts. This is a really tough question. I want to honor and respect all my former coworkers. They're wonderful and caring people who really want the best for their patients, sincerely. And we all do the best we can with what we truly know. There was certainly a time that I myself wasn't yet on board in understanding the amazing power of a healthy plant-based diet. But through my additional training and personal experience, I did come to truly know that much of what we're seeing in the hospital, you know, things like diabetes and its complications, high blood pressure, kidney disease, obesity, and repeated cardiovascular events, as we spoke of earlier, these things could be prevented, treated, and sometimes even reversed through lifestyle medicine, including a predominantly or completely whole food plant-based diet. So the challenge was that some professional approaches in the hospital differed from what I had come to understand about the evidence-based science of lifestyle medicine, especially when it came to diet. And it was important that we provide consistent education to our patients in order to prevent confusion. And due to other professional messages going to the same patients, unfortunately, I was required to withhold some information that I knew to be true. Specifically, more information about a whole food plant-based diet and the possibility of reversing the progression of heart disease. So that was really, really tough. And though I always encouraged patients to eat more plant foods, I was like the cheerleader for eating more plant foods, I think.
Broccoli?
Yeah, right. Thankfully, this, eating more plant foods, that message did align with other professional messages. Not being able to share more about the possibility of reversing the progression of heart disease, what we were seeing over and over, reversing type 2 diabetes too, for example, was honestly a super tough position to be in, knowing what I had come to know. But the good news, though, is that I have been seeing that more and more health systems have begun to align with the message of the power of a healthy plant-based diet. I don't know if Meryl and Carrie, if you heard about in New York,
Yes.
the hospitals in New York requiring plant-based meals now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's so exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, hearing about it all over the place. A little less in the Midwest, I think, so far, but we'll get there, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Right.
Yeah. So, and though, these things do take time, the transition for learning and people coming to understand it and truly understand the power. My hope is that this movement continues to grow and spread throughout the country. As a member of ACLM, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, that's the whole point of what they're doing, is working on getting lifestyle medicine, all of the pillars of lifestyle medicine, right into traditional medicine as like the first line of defense for chronic disease.
Right.
And so it's not a separate thing. It's not some special separate thing. It's what should be done first, So that's exciting to me, and that is absolutely growing. ACLM is growing, and the plant-based movement as part of that is growing as well.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful, you know, like I was saying, to be able to share this message now as a nurse coach, and I absolutely love guiding my clients along their path to optimal wellness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So a little more along those lines. So I know, yeah, you mentioned you've been in the inpatient setting for quite a while now. You're a nurse coach and you have your own business. So knowing what you know now, what are 5 things you would never recommend to a patient?
Well, my role as a nurse coach is a little bit different than what my role was in the hospital. So in the hospital, I did more teaching. And as a nurse coach, I do more guiding and facilitating and less teaching per se. But when started taking my nurse coach hat off and putting on my lifestyle medicine practitioner hat instead, things that I would never recommend and you may agree, I would never recommend eating more animal products. People get plenty, don't need any to have a healthy diet. I would never recommend sitting more, you know, unless there's some unusual safety concern.
Right.
Eating more highly processed foods, definitely not. I also would never recommend something that's very common for a lot of people is an all or nothing mindset. Because with that type of mindset, we might feel like if we're not perfect in attaining our goals, then we might as well just throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And it's completely normal to have minor backslides in the process of improving our health. And each perceived failure in meeting a goal is still a great learning opportunity and really builds on the foundation of making these long-term lifestyle changes. And then the last thing I would never recommend is giving up. So no matter what age is just a number. I've seen that in the hospital. I've seen 80-year-olds that look better than the 40-year-olds in the room next door. I mean, extremely common, you know, to have a very wide range. And no matter what level of health or age people are at, there's always something that each of us can be doing to move forward and to improve our lives and our health.
All right. So the flip side of the same question, what are 5 things you would always
I would always recommend that people continue to get their regular medical checkups and stay in close contact with their medical providers. People wanting to eat plant-based can consider connecting with a plant-based doctor in your area if you have that, or connect with one of the doctors available through plantbasedtelehealth.com. Let's see, a second thing I would always recommend is a very favorite documentary of mine. I don't know, Carrie and Meryl, if you've seen this yet, but the documentary Plant Wise.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love it because it's concise. It's only about 45 minutes long. It is so well done. It's so informative and so inspiring. So I'm a huge fan of that documentary. I'd also always recommend eating more whole plant foods, of course, and a wide variety of whole plant foods. Also for people to move more, you know, unless, again, there are unusual safety concerns that you shouldn't, you know, you need to speak with your doctor potentially. But move in whatever safe ways that you enjoy and have fun with it. Try new things and find out what activities you enjoy the most, because that's what you'll do, right? And then a neat thing with physical activity is really pay attention to how you feel after you've been more active, or the contrast from how you feel before the activity and after, or later that day or the next day. For some people, getting out and moving can really be an excellent stress and anxiety reliever. It's really kind of magical. Pretty neat thing. Not to mention the cardiovascular benefits and strength building and balance and flexibility type benefits of physical activity too. And then also surrounding yourself with supportive people who inspire you to keep learning and growing and challenging yourself and never stop learning.
Nurse to nurse, what is one thing you wish was in the standard nursing curriculum? What should we be taught in school that we're not getting?
I wish that all nurses were taught the immense power of lifestyle medicine in treating the cause of disease. Man, could we change things? The number of nurses, I forgot how many nurses there are in the US, 29,000 or something.
Oh, there's more than that.
Is it even more than that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the millions, I believe.
Is in the millions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm probably way off, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, just think of the power, you know, it's amazing. Along with this, I'd want new nurses to learn to, instead of viewing their patients as sick
Mm.
or broken, to view them as resilient, resourceful, and creative whole beings.
Mhm.
You know, everyone has their strengths, and nearly everyone is capable of using these strengths to make positive lifestyle changes when they're ready and when they choose to.
Yeah. So what is one thing, bringing this conversation to parents and children, what would say there would be one thing you'd recommend to parents or adults who are around kids a lot? And what could they do right now to make a difference in their health and in the health of their families and their children?
Getting in the kitchen, learning how to cook real food, especially plant foods, and learning how to cook it so it tastes good and so it looks good, so it has good color and isn't overdone. Plant foods tend to be overcooked a lot, or undercooked, and then people think they're icky, you know, or the only thing they've ever tried is some sort of canned vegetable,
Mhm.
canned green beans or something. Some people may like them, but boy, is there a huge difference in steamed, you know.
Right.
It's just, there's a huge difference when you learn how to cook and make these foods taste the way they should.
I think it's important, at least initially, if you're not used to cooking, to have recipes that are simple. I know when I first transitioned to plant-based eating, I found recipes, but they may have been more complex. And if you think of it as trying to make a different recipe every night of the week, it gets overwhelming very quickly. And you use like every pot and pan in your kitchen. And then by the time you're done making the food, eating the food, cleaning it up, it's so overwhelming. But finding simple recipes makes it so much easier to actually stick with.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what I actually mostly cook myself is pretty simple. You know, I'm mostly not doing an elaborate recipe. So it's just, you learn how to just throw things together even last minute, and maybe with a little bit of batch prepping earlier on and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's also, on the lines of learning how to cook, the culinary school, the online culinary school, Rouxbe, that I went through, has a few different cooking course options. The one I did was about 6 months long. It was pretty in depth, but they do have one that's only 12 hours long, and it's called, I think that's about how long it is anyway. It's called Culinary RX. And it helps you learn how to cook plant-based. I'm pretty sure it's no oil as well, and how to cook foods well. And I think they even talk about like knife handling skills, which is an important thing for learning, getting past that hurdle of, oh, I have to chop all these things up. When you know how to use a knife really well, it's just so much easier and goes so much quicker. It's so much less overwhelming too. So I would recommend that as well.
Okay. So in my research and looking to see what content is available on your website, I saw that you have a lot of pictures of plant-based recipes. What is a quick one that you love and would like to share with our audience?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there are so many recipes out there, just amazing, on all sorts of blogs and resources. It's just, you
Right.
can't ever get through them all. I do have one to share, and it's one from my greencirclekitchen.com website, my sort of recipe blog website. It's a colorful one. It's called Fruit Salad Overnight Oats. And I can bring it up here. I have a little cooler down, so I'm bending away from the screen a minute. I have a cooler down here with it sitting in there. This is, I don't know how well you can see,
Oh, wow.
but
that
in
is
a little ball
beautiful.
canning jar. And so this is just, I'm gonna set it down here, but
Yeah.
it's just a half cup of old-fashioned rolled oats. And then other ingredients, you can see the details of the ingredients on the website if you'd like. But old-fashioned rolled oats, soy milk or another plant milk, vanilla extract, maple syrup, poppy seeds, zest of 1 clementine, zest of 1 lemon, and a little bit of lemon juice. And then just stirring that up in the bottom
Mhm.
of the canning jar. And then just adding layers of a little bit of blueberries and red grapes, and then clementine wedges on the top. Or you could really use any fruit that you enjoy, you know.
Yeah.
The flavor is amazing. The color is amazing. You know, some people like to just, oh, in this, so overnight oats, in case anyone hasn't tried overnight oats before, for this recipe, I'll put it in the fridge for a few hours or overnight. Sometimes I would take it to lunch, have it be my lunch at work. We had a little fridge at work, or I'd take it in a cooler. But it's great for breakfast. It's great for batch prepping, like having 3 to 5 jars or something and just make 5 at a time, all the same thing, and just have it ready to go, you know, real easy. So I kind of like it for that too.
Yeah, I love overnight oats, but I have not tried one with all of those different fruits and ingredients. So I think I'm going to have to give that a try.
Oh, great, great. Yeah,
It looks beautiful.
It does.
Yeah.
thank you.
So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
One phrase that I heard somewhere, I don't remember for sure where I originally heard it, but it's make the healthy choice the easy choice.
Mhm.
This is just so huge and so helpful in making these big lifestyle changes. It really helps set yourself up for success. And so by what I mean by that, with making the healthy choice the easy choice, is things like limiting your access to the less healthful foods, keeping highly processed foods out of the house for the most part, you know, and then increasing your access to a wide variety of whole plant foods.
Mhm.
And we talked a little bit about batch prepping. You know, I like to batch prep a healthy starch or potatoes or whole grain type thing to have on hand throughout the week, or both. Maybe I'll do like put some brown rice in our rice maker, or make it on the stove or in the oven, and or cook some potatoes, like 6 or 8 big baking potatoes all at once, have them all cooked, then keep them in the fridge. And then later in the week, I need to throw something together. And it's so easy because, like with those potatoes, I can just add some salsa, maybe some nutritional yeast,
Mhm.
some vegetables. Maybe having fresh and frozen veggies on hand is good. The frozen ones are super handy because they don't go bad nearly as quickly, and you just have it there. Or maybe some beans on top of that potato. And you can just very quickly throw a meal together with almost no thought. Same thing with the rice, like the brown rice, and throwing Buddha bowls, you know,
Right.
bowls of different things together, just what you have on hand. Yeah.
So where can our audience find out more about you and learn about your coaching services that you offer?
Oh, thank you for asking. I really appreciate that. All of my coaching sessions are held over Zoom video. And to explain nurse coaching a little, a coaching conversation is different and more powerful than a regular conversation. It's different than what we've had here today. And if anyone listening to this podcast is interested in learning more about my coaching services, it's actually best to experience what it is firsthand, so you know if it's something for you. So I do currently have some openings for free 60-minute coaching sessions. And these sessions are best suited for people who are truly ready to commit to taking steps toward improving their lives and their health. And the reasons I offer these free and confidential sessions, there are several reasons. So they provide you or the client with greater insight towards your vision of optimal wellness, along with any next steps you might want to take toward that. And then for me, as the coach, they give me additional experience in coaching.
Mhm.
And then they help both of us see if we're a good match, if we want to consider any continued coaching sessions together beyond those free sessions.
Mhm.
There are absolutely no strings attached whatsoever, and absolutely no obligation to sign up for additional sessions. So if anyone here is interested, my contact information, I think, will be in the show notes. Feel free to go to my coaching website, that is circlewellnesscoaching.com, and you can schedule a free session there. But if you have any trouble finding an available time on my calendar that aligns with your schedule, feel free to email me at donna@circlewellnesscoaching.com, and that's also in the show notes. So we can coordinate a time together. So thank you so much for having me here, Meryl and Carrie. I so appreciate it, and appreciate you too.
Well, the feeling is so mutual. I'm so grateful that we were able to make time together. You know, I know your schedule's nuts and so is ours. So grateful we were able to pull it together and have this conversation.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Right. Okay, Donna, we'll see you next time.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, my lovelies. This is Meryl.
And this is Carrie. And we are here to invite you to an amazing event that we're planning. It is the 6 Million Seeds 2022 Child Nutrition Summit. And we're kicking off a revolutionary decade in child nutrition.
It is free, it is live, and it's online, coming up December 3rd through the 6th for 2 sessions per day. We have some great speakers lined up. We have Dr. Yami, Dr. Columbus Batiste, and Dr. Joel Furman, all medical doctors who are experts in the field of child health and nutrition.
And we even have some fun cooking demos planned. They will be by Evelise Capot and Dilip Barman and his daughter Anu.
So like I said, it's free, and we encourage you to take advantage of the VIP upgrade so that you can have actual conversations with our presenters. You can ask your questions, you can get your questions answered, as well as you'll get recordings to all the sessions and all of the question and answer part. Along with that, you'll get a free goodie bag full of stuff we are packing chock full just for you.
Yeah, so go ahead, and the link is below, and definitely click it and sign up now. And we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Okay, bye-bye. 6 Million Seeds is made possible by the generosity of Bruno Chiropractic, Acme Construction Metals, EXP Realty, and Deck It Out Builders. We thank you for your support.